Hello, my name is Elena, and the following presentation is going to address American Guitars Company costing system. I will begin by discussing its current normal costing system and its disadvantages. Then I will pass it to Ina, and she will talk about absorption costing and its disadvantages. Austin will then define the standard costing, and finally, Cece will conclude this presentation by proposing another costing system and talking about how it will impact the American Guitar Company. The American Guitar Company uses the following costing system: job ordering costing and absorption costing. Job order costing is a costing system in which the cost object is a unit or multiple units of a distinct product or service called a job. In current situation, we're talking about the production of specialized guitars, and each special guitar made by the company is unique. Because the products are distinct, job costing system accumulates costs separately for each product. This allows the team to examine each cost incurred, finding out why it happened, and determine how it can be controlled better in the future, thereby contributing better ongoing levels of profitability. However, there are a few disadvantages of job costing. First of all, it concentrates attention primarily on products rather than on departments or activities. And it requires a major amount of data entry and data accuracy in order to yield effective results. Data related to materials, labor, overhead, scrap, spoilage, and supplies must be entered into a system capable of accurately assigning these costs to the correct jobs every time. And final issue is that a large proportion of the cost assigned to a job, frequently more than 50%, comes from the allocated overhead. And now I will pass it to Ina, and she will talk about the absorption costing.
Thank you, Elena. Another method used by American Guitars is absorption costing. This is a method of inventory costing in which all the variable manufacturing costs and all the fixed manufacturing costs are included as total inventoriable costs. Just like job order costing, absorption costing method also has its disadvantages. Because absorption costing allocates fixed overhead costs to the unit level, it makes it appear as though additional units produced add overhead costs when in fact they are revenue opportunities. Since the company allocates fixed overhead to the finished unit level in absorption costing, until the company sells the unit, the cost does not show up as an expense or cost of goods sold. If production or sales are irregular, this method of costing will make it appear that fixed overhead and variable costs fluctuate with sales.
Thank you, Ina. Hello, Professor Chan. My name is Austin McNutt, and I'll be talking to you a little bit about standard costing and the dual rate method and advantages of both. So standard costing traces costs to the output by multiplying the standard prices or rates by the standard quantities of inputs allowed for the actual outputs. In other words, standard costing is what should it normally cost. These prices are determined, these standard prices are determined by the industry, by competitors. The prices are determined by what has been deemed the standard. One of the advantages of standard costing is that the company can budget what they think it's going to cost at the beginning of the period. This feature simplifies record keeping because no record is needed of the actual overhead costs or of the actual quantities of the cost allocation basis beforehand. Now I'm going to take you to the dual rate method. The dual rate method, as kind of included in the name, is going to be using two different rates to allocate the costs. They're going to be using a rate for the variable costs and one for the fixed costs. So the way it works is the dual rate method classifies costs into two separate cost pools, variable cost pool and a fixed cost pool. One of the advantages of doing it this way is it signals to the division managers how variable costs and fixed costs behave differently. That information will guide those managers to make appropriate decisions that benefit the organization as a whole and also in their respective departments, right? Also, spending variances for both fixed and variable costs can be calculated at the end when you're comparing your budgeted standard rates costs to the actual costs.
Thank you, Austin. Why we recommend a standard costing system? If costs remain within the standards, managers can focus on other issues. When costs fall significantly outside the standard, managers are alerted that there may be problems requiring attention. The approach helps managers focus on important issues. Standards that are viewed as reasonable by employees can promote economy and efficiency. They provide benchmarks that individuals can use to judge their own performance. Standard costs can greatly simplify bookkeeping instead of recording actual costs for each job. The standard costs for materials, labor, and overhead can be charged to jobs. Also, standard costs fit naturally in an integrated system of responsibility accounting. The standards establish what costs should be, who should be responsible for them, and what actual costs are under control. Thank you for listening.